Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for this final Minisode in between seasons here. My name is Sam, and today's game of choice is Mass Effect 1, the start of an incredible trilogy. As always, we will be discussing full spoilers for this game and mature themes and topics, so listen with your own discretion. Enjoy the show. Hello everyone, and welcome to the final in-between seasons mini-sode of Level 0 Literacy. My name is Sam, and I am joined, as always, by the co-hosts of all time, Mason.
Hello.
And Buck.
I remember when Barack Obama was elected.
All right, let's get into today's game. The first of its kinds to make you realize how messed up it is that you can only fuck one of the aliens. Mass Effect.
This is true.
Oh, that's true.
It's like the worst part of the game.
Wow.
There's only one. You can only romance Liara as an alien. She's the only romanceable alien in the first game.
I was playing as FemShep this time, and I was kind of thinking about romancing Kaiden, but then I remembered that I sacrificed Ashley the first time I played these games. So I sacrificed Kaiden instead. So I just didn't really even have a romance option.
Racist live?
I want to see what happens with her. I want to.
Right, okay.
I killed her the first time, man.
Maybe she grows.
Mass Effect released in the year 2007 and was published by BioWare in the days before they were acquired by EA. It was directed by Casey Hudson and written by Drew Karpyshyn. Karpyshyn? One of those. In Mass Effect, you play as Commander Shepard, a human who finds himself, and during this episode, you'll probably realize us referring to Shepard as whatever pronouns we played our Shepard as, who finds himself investigating a Turian known as Saren, after finding him on a human colony that has recently discovered an ancient alien artifact. As you chase him down across the galaxy, you learn of the litany of alien races that populate it, and the possible impending apocalypse that will come at the hand of the Reapers. Influences for Mass Effect include Star Wars, Alien, Star Trek, mostly The Wrath of Khan, Blade Runner, Starship Troopers, and this may surprise both of you, Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Aesthetically,
Actually,
it's not surprising at all. Actually,
that makes a lot of sense. I wasn't thinking of it cognizantly, but
no.
Now that I am kind of letting it ruminate a little, I can definitely see it.
Yeah.
Major themes for Mass Effect include international or interspecies politics, liberalism, the military, and impending doom, and the inability of people to reckon with the consequences of such a thing. Man, this game is made in 2007.
Yep.
This plays like a game that was made in 2007.
This is a game that came out in 2007 when we were still figuring out what the Xbox 360 could do, right? Like,
and I think this was like
this might have been first Xbox.
No, it was 360.
It was 360? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it might have been early.
It was 360 exclusive.
360, yeah.
I had to deal with it being
That's
360
right.
exclusive because I had to switch to PlayStation 3 after my 360s all red ranked.
I want to explore very briefly our character concepts for our shepherds. I know that Buck and I went with the canon. I believe the canon accepted FemShep.
No, Canon is
Canon's
like
male
the shaved head male shepherd.
Which is interesting because you didn't go with that. You went with Deputy James Garcia from Reno 911.
Yeah.
In look and sound.
Yes.
In the most cursed thing I've ever seen in my life.
Great. I love him.
Oh God, he was terrible.
So there's default shepherd appearances, and male shep has like the shaved head and just like very like average features.
Oh, everyone knows default male shep.
And then default FemShep is like the red hair, like shoulder length red hair.
I will say I'm surprised at the fact that the game like puts heavy emphasis on the background you choose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It matters a lot.
It's really cool too.
People mention it all the time because
it changes your dialogue options.
I think I picked Survivor. So everyone was like, "Oh, you were on a cruise." Everyone talks about a cruise.
Yeah. Everyone. It's like such a big deal. I was
Did we all pick
surprised.
the same background?
I picked Aku's.
I picked Aku's
the first time.
the first time I played. Yeah. What are the options?
There's Aku's Rich Parents, where you're a spacer from Earth, and the third one was
Well, no. So there's two sets of options. There's your actual background, and then there's like your heroic thing you do.
Oh yeah. This is the heroic action.
The actual background I picked was
So the backgrounds are Spacer, Colonist, and Earthborn.
That's what I'm thinking of.
I picked Earthborn.
And then the mission backgrounds are Soul Survivor, War Hero, and Ruthless.
I picked War Hero this time.
I might have also picked War Hero. Those are a little more. So those matter because if you pick War Hero, you get some Paragon points to start. And if you pick Ruthless, you get some Renegade points to start.
I think I picked Soul Survivor.
But yeah, everyone talks about your stuff on Aku's. That's like Shepard's like big claim to fame. But like the way whatever you pick as your one of those really influences how people like think about you, or like they're especially in the early game what their perception of you as a person.
Which is a uncommon thing when this game released.
Yeah. When this game came out, it was revolutionary for how much. This was a cover shooter that gave you a lot of influence over how things played out in the game. Which makes sense when you consider this is the same people that made Dragon Age, right?
Yeah.
So these people have experience. This is a studio that has experience making games where your choices matter a lot.
Yeah, but this came out between Dragon Age came out between 1 and 2.
Right, Dragon Age.
So I think they were making Dragon Age at
came
the
out.
same time.
Okay, they might have been developing them.
Hold on.
For some reason, I thought Dragon Age 1
this.
was before. I thought it was Dragon Age and then Mass Effect 1 and then Dragon Age Origins and then Mass Effect 2. But I could be wrong.
Dragon Age Origins was the first Dragon Age.
Oh no! So yeah, no. Origins came out in 2009.
Okay, so this was like the studio's first big game.
Let me excuse me, sir. KOTOR 1 and Jade Empire.
Both predate this.
No one talks about Jade Empire anymore. But,
I talk about Jade Empire.
Well, you are not an average person when it comes to game tastes. None of us are. None of us are average game consumers.
Fucking
Yeah, nobody knows about
Buck's
Jade
never shut up about Jade Empire. He had to get committed for a small amount of time because everyone thought he was making up a game.
I'll give it up for KOTOR 1 though. KOTOR 1 was a big deal, but now in retrospect, everyone talks about
when
KOTOR.
Buck goes to sleep, he's like,
emphasize-
Jade Empire, Jade
to
Empire.
emphasize your point, KOTOR 1 and Jade Empire did have like a lot of those kinds of things.
The influences that you get as Shepard, I think, in Mass Effect 1 matter a lot less. In fact, your choices from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2 matter less than your choices from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 3, which is a crazy statement.
They're both more isolated.
Can you imagine a game studio being like, yeah, we're going to make a choice-based game, and we're going to be planning on making 2 more games? People release successful games and get shut down now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Like
That's why I think this trilogy is so important, is because we don't get trilogies like this anymore, and we might never get it. I think this is like very much a time capsule trilogy where it's like we simply will never get a trilogy like this again.
I don't like to be that pessimistic. I think we don't get it in our current ecosystem of video game development. That's absolutely
not.
true. I do think like consumer desires are shifting in such a way that we could have this again, because like, you know, the more news you read, the more of the sort of video game landscape, the more sentiment you see that's like, oh, this is terrible, we shouldn't support this, and how things are right now is not good, it was better. I think we'll get back to a point, and it may not be with AAA releases, but we'll get back to a point where, you know, the Deltarune is in development right now.
Well,
and that's going to be like there's going to be like through lines between the chapters.
It's tough because like Toby Fox is like an enigma in the industry at this point, where people he's reached like idolatry status in a sense, where people are going to play whatever he comes out with. Yeah.
So that's what I was going to say.
Which is a good thing.
He's an Enigma who sold
really
a
good in the
gajillion
game.
copies.
He's also like the only one of these kinds of dudes who isn't like an obvious shithead.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry to derail that point, but I saw a tweet from Braid Guy lately, and I was just like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, that guy sucks. Anyways, let's talk about Mass Effect 1. So, the first thing that happens to you is you go to a human colony, and you everything goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say that plagued this entire game to me, they don't know how to do subtlety. They don't know how to do foreshadowing.
No.
They don't know how. I mean, and maybe it was like a product of what video game writing was at the time, but everything is like so apparent. You see something and you're like, okay, this is how it's gonna play out. And you start the game and all your crew members like, I don't trust this Saren guy. He's kind of weird. This whole mission, a little bit suspicious. We're supposed to be collecting taxes or something like that. And then it's like, okay, I get it. He's like, you go talk with Saren and he looks visibly evil. And you're like,
that's
okay.
what I was going to say is like, I wrote down in my notes, Saren gives me that why doesn't anyone question why he looks so evil vibe.
Yeah.
Like his big hologram comes up in the Citadel when you're talking to the council, and it's like, hey, why don't you you look at like the tubes coming out of his chest and stuff?
Yeah,
that makes me think he might have synthesized part of his body. That thing that people aren't supposed to really do.
They definitely, when they made the alien races, they definitely made the good ones look like friendly and the evil ones look unfriendly, and that's true in Mass Effect 2 as well.
I don't know, like I don't think Turians look friendly or unfriendly,
but they do look militaristic.
They do look militaristic.
They're very like angular and a lot of sharp edges.
They got a very sort of utilitarian anatomy. You compare that to like the little jellyfish guys, and you're like, okay, these guys are going to be silly. They look silly. They are going to be silly, and they are. That's the artistic design definitely was just like very in lockstep with how they made the alien cultures.
Look, my favorite race of aliens are the Elcor.
The Elcor are great. Elcor are delightful little guys.
Because like you have to think about the thought process where when it was just the Elcor on their own home planet, they were able to communicate effectively, and then when they went and met aliens, they're like, what emotions? We have to like express how we feel about things all the time. Man, all right. And then they had to like change their entire culture to like do that all the time.
We'll simply sing them our complex songs.
What if the conspiracy theory here, and maybe this is like maybe this is just a thought I would have. Do you think whoever came up with the Elcor either was or had experience with an autistic person?
Maybe.
And because I have the Elcor problem a lot, where I will say a thing that sounds a lot more aggressive than I intend it to be, and it's just because I don't know how I'm saying it.
Elcor speech might do you a lot of good.
With great passion.
Joking. I think the person who made the Elcor saw an elephant and then looked at the trunk and was like, "Ew, what the fuck is that? Take it off."
So essentially, the first like big thing that happens in this game is that Shepard becomes a Spectre.
Yeah,
which is basically
space cop,
space cop,
yes.
space CIA,
space CIA.
Overt operatives that are given unlimited access and basically aren't questioned at all by authority as long as they get the job done,
and can make like tons of completely like planet deciding political decisions without oversight.
Yeah.
I do. So like, I think the politics of Mass Effect 1 are built on a shaky base at best. This, I think they really did good on. Whereas like, yeah, we have this representative democracy. However, in order for this to function, they need to maintain goodwill with the public. So they basically just have a secret police.
Yeah.
That goes out and like kills people.
The dirty work.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, like we'll get into it during the episode. A lot of things I found like pretty distasteful or questionable, but that was like one of the things about the world building where I was like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. I'm like very on the same page with what they were doing here.
Yeah. So the first Citadel excursion is pretty interesting in that it really gives you the scope of like how interweaved all of these species are, all these like different aliens are. And I think they do a really good job kind of off the rip of giving you a concept of what all of these races are about. You know, I feel like you can tell that in a lot of ways Mass Effect 1 was just a setup game for the rest of the series. They were still figuring out their mechanical stuff with like the shooting, like the gameplay mechanics. They had like figured out what they wanted the world to be at large, but they hadn't necessarily nailed down all of like the smaller points. And then when you get to Mass Effect 2, you start to actually see a lot of the more like the smaller details get to shine in like under those like bigger world building pieces that they set up in the first game.
And I will always remember the first time walking in to the El Corvolis embassy room.
Yeah.
And talking to the El Corvolis there. That's just like such a well put together and cool scene that just does so much of telling you about the world you're living in without, I mean, like it is like literally fully exposition, but I find it to be like incredibly engaging just exposition.
Yeah.
You have a lot of questions at that point in the game, and that scene doesn't answer them all, but it definitely informs some things. It's like, you're thinking like, oh, I've seen a bunch of aliens. How do they know which ones get on the council? And you talk to the Elcor and the Volus, and it's like, oh, they were just here first, and now they've got power. They kind of keep us out. And it's like, okay, it kind of sets up the character of the council, and like starting there, they have like a really nice sort of character through line of the council, where they're like these like overly cautious, way too like ineffective, and it all makes sense.
And the only reason the humans are being considered at all is because they're really good at being a military.
They're useful.
The same way that the Asari and the Turians are.
Yeah.
Like the three representative races or the three representative species on the council are two extremely militaristically powerful races and one extremely powerful scientific race.
It's very interesting because like if you think hard enough about the council, it's literally like technology, diplomacy, war.
Yeah.
Which are the powerful things. And that's why when you said in the group chat what are the big like themes of Mass Effect, I'm like liberalism.
Yeah.
Because like
But I don't know. I do feel like this job, like, so when this game came out, obviously it was meant to be more, this is, like, the world was a different place when this game came out. But I think now we can almost look back on it and be like, wow, they really did a good job showing, like, the failings of this, like, structure, right? It wasn't, I don't think it was, like, at the time when they developed it, I don't think it was meant to be like, oh, look how like ineffectual this council is, and look how like unable they are to do anything. So the military has to go out and like solve all the problems, right?
And it's funny because like I have like several problems with the decision making and how things work in both of these games. But can you imagine like a more like I hesitate to call this game like progressive, but can you imagine a more progressive game than this coming out in 2007 and gamers loving it as much as they did?
No.
Like
well, let's see. Spec Ops: The Line. It came out about this time.
Niche cult hit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the first mission most people are going to do is the Exogeny colony.
Yeah.
That the order is pretty much always going to be Exogeny first, and then the Matriarch's mission, and then the mission where you go to Saren's base, and then the finale, and then like the finale mission. Right, those are like the 4 main missions.
So
during the story,
there are 5 missions. There's grabbing Liara.
Sure.
There,
I don't think about that one very much.
I mean, sure, but that counts. Like,
yeah.
So there's 3 missions they give you right off the bat.
It's Liara,
Matriarch,
Exogeny,
and
Exogeny.
How are I thought? Oh. Zoo's Hope, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
so
I was confusing Exogeny for the Matriarch thing, which was also a giant corporation.
Yeah,
place.
so it's so the Matriarch one is the capitalism planet.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I guess most people probably go to get Liara first.
I did try to do that because there are achievements in this game that say play through most of the game with X party member.
Yeah.
So I was trying to do like Liara and someone else like get those achievements, and I did not get them, even though I never switched party members.
Yeah,
the whole fucking
right.
game.
That's very weird.
So you pick up Liara. She's in some Prothean ruins. The Protheans were the ancient alien society that existed 50,000 years ago, and the universe has kind of started to uncover their technology, and so she's researching them. Her place gets attacked by the Geth, which are an AI race, AI hive minds that were created by a different alien race called the Quarians.
Tally best friend.
And so you find her. She's basically just trapped. The Geth trapped her there. You recover her because she knows a lot about technology that was left behind. She studied all this stuff before. So she's like a Prothean expert to have on your team and help you like decipher the message, the like broken message that you found during the first mission. Can we also like, not a big deal now, but that cutscene that plays after you touch the Prothean device was horrifying.
Yeah,
when I played this game for the first time. It was disgusting. That mouth. I always think about the mouth.
And you have to see it. I think about the computer chips with all the gore on it. Oh my god.
They put their whole ass in developing that cutscene. You can tell they put a lot of dev time.
I was expecting a in-engine cutscene.
No.
And then it's just all like real stuff. And like, I was like, whoa, this is like such a crazy thing artistically to have in here.
Yeah, and it's like in the first like 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah. Definitely sets you up to believe the game is going to be scarier than it actually is, though.
Yeah.
The only thing that happens that really matches that is at the end of the game when you do the Saren boss fight.
Yeah.
And he does that crazy, like, fucking the thing transformation.
Yeah.
Where he gets transformed by
the
Reaper.
Yeah.
His name I can't remember. Harbinger.
Sovereign.
Sovereign.
Yep.
Harbingers too.
Yep.
Yeah. But like, you know, when I touched the artifact and it showed me that, I was like, oh, these Geth are going to be like gross, and like the things they're going to do are going to be like visceral and disgust. And it's like, more gray dudes.
We'll revisit this when we talk about Mass Effect 2, because I think that cutscene actually ties into some things from Mass Effect 2 that I think about a lot. So you get Liara, then you go to Zoo's Hope and do the Exogeny colony, which I think the only thing in that mission that really sticks out is the Thorian, because obvious reasons.
The Thorian thing's very interesting. I think mainly because like you mentioned that an influence was Star Trek, and I hadn't thought about it, but there's a lot of like Star Trek kind of storylines in this game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like, I retroactively after you saying this, like, oh yeah, and this definitely seems like a Star Trek style storyline where like you land on a planet, you're there to like help some people. The people are a little weird. You're trying to figure out what's going on, and then you find out, they're trying to. Because what was happening was like Exogeny was like studying them. Right?
Yeah. They basically they were studying the effects of the Thorian on humans to potentially like use it. Like I I don't remember the exact reasoning. It was like they're trying to like weaponize it. They're trying to sell it as a bioweapon, I think is the big thing. Oh, how effective would this thing be as a bioweapon against our enemies? Can we like sell its technology to people?
Which, to be fair, despite what I just said, fucking horrifying.
Yeah.
If you go to war with someone and they're like, "Yeah, we contracted this company to shoot a brainwashing plant, and you're gonna be a ghoul to this plant now."
Yeah, and it can make copies of you.
Horrific. But yeah, I mean that like really, really scary, and also like one of the best "don't kill the innocents" style missions I've ever played in a game. Usually those are very annoying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they are, because like
including in Mass Effect 1 where you have one later.
It's usually so hard to not kill people in Don't Kill the Innocents missions, but in this one it was pretty easy.
You just get the thorium gas.
Yeah. They fumbled it later. You go to that biotics lab, and there's like, well, there's some terrorists and some innocent people.
I didn't even shoot any of them, but I think my party members did.
The fucking terrorists shot him for me.
Yeah.
I sat there and I just fucking grinded that.
That shouldn't count.
They did that. I didn't do that.
Yeah. I think it's pretty interesting that there is like a little bit of like reflection on killing the Thorian, something that has existed for, however long. We don't really ever get a concept. But it existed before the Protheans.
Yeah. I also think it's pretty cool. It's interesting that there's no peaceful way to resolve things with the Thorian, specifically because Saren's a fucker.
Right. He's a bitch, and we hate him.
Yeah. And the reflection is interesting because it's like, I think it's like, it is kind of fucked up that you killed this ancient thing.
It is.
Like, it's...
And it literally wouldn't... It's just living its life, This is just how it exists, as it's kind of vibed here for millions of years, and then people came in to do experiments on it, and then
it just fought back.
Really powerful thing came and made a deal with it.
Yeah.
To like keep it alive.
I
mean, it's a fucked up thing.
Yeah.
It
is.
It's like, it's one of those things that's like, does its acting on its nature just make it an evil? Because it's like a fungus.
Yeah.
It has intelligence, obviously, but like, I don't know, that's just how it survives.
It's kind of like it's kind of like what if Eldritch horrors weren't a racist metaphor? Right?
Yeah.
The first time you see a giant tentacle monster and it's not like supposed to be just an Italian man.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I appreciated that the game wasn't like, oh, good, you killed the Thorian. Good job. That's all great. The Asari is literally like, but what of the cost of losing such an ancient thing,
Because like there are other places in Mass Effect where like you do something of like the same consequence and it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So
they give it its weight sometimes.
I think they definitely put all the writing behind the main story missions, right? So in those instances, they're going to meditate on it in a more serious way. In other cases, they're like, we need a way to get the player 6,000 experience.
Yeah.
So
I do think there is an inconsistency in the theming and writing of Mass Effect overall, if you're looking at specifically how the writers want you to value sentient life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, because, I am a person who thinks violence has to happen sometimes, but it's very picky and choosy when it wants to tell you the violence you did was good or bad.
With that, let's talk about the second big story mission, the Matriarch, and going up to the mountaintop, and
that's on Ilium, right?
No. Ilium is a similar place.
I was about to say I thought it was the same planet in 1 and 2, but I guess
no.
Ilium is an Asari world.
Ilium is the Asari world that is the
capitalist equivalent.
Yes.
of this place.
Like literally, that's what the codex entry says.
Gotcha.
It's the Asari version of
This
whatever.
planet.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name.
The planet. Sorry, things that you're gonna have to get used to in this and the next one. Lots of names.
Yeah,
lots
so
of
we're
names
not-
in this game. Don't worry about
If
it.
you look at every planet name in 2, you will go insane.
There's so
Yeah,
many.
it's a nightmare.
But you land. So the big thing in this mission is the Rachni. So the
Which shouldn't
Rachni,
exist.
the Rachni are basically you learn that they are a alien race that was so powerful and prominent throughout the galaxy that the council got the Krogans. They just gave the Krogans a bunch of guns. You don't learn all this stuff until Mass Effect. You don't learn all the minutia of this until Mass Effect 2. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about it more then. But basically, the council were like, all right, we're gonna give Krogans a bunch of guns, and we're gonna make the Krogans go kill all the Rachni, and then they did that.
Let's kind of meet Mass Effect 1 where it is right now, without the Mass Effect 2 information. You know that the Krogan and the Rachni were both really physically formidable races that repopulated very fast. You know, they had a giant war, the Krogan won, and there was supposed to be a total Rachni extinction.
Yep.
But this one, who happens to be a mother who can make more Rachni, lived and is being studied illegally, I think, or against the council's wishes by
Illegally,
the companies.
almost certainly
And if-
illegally.
And if you, for some reason, never played this game, the Rachni are just the bugs from Starship Troopers.
Yes,
That is
yes.
just
Which is
literally
great.
what
It's
they
the
are.
bugs, which breaks their earlier convention of like sentient life that all looks good or evil depending on what it is.
Yeah.
You know, this thing makes a plea to you by mind controlling via strong biotic power, an Asari, and it's like a dead Asari, I think, right? It like brings it back to life briefly.
Well, she's on her like last legs.
Okay,
That's how
she's
she-
dying.
She's
Yeah.
not dead yet, but it speaks to you telepathically in a language you understand, and is like, hey, I just want to go like live in a cave and have some babies. Like,
Also,
are you
these
really?
people kidnapped all of my children.
Yeah,
And my children are not
Monsters. They're
Yeah.
monsters.
Yeah.
Please kill them.
you know, I knew based on what I had been told about the Rachni earlier in the game, like, oh, this could like come back to bite me in the ass in a later game, but like I couldn't see any moral reason why I would not just like let this thing go. You know, the Krogans are already like armed and sterilized, and like the council already knows of the destructive nature of the Rachni, so if
Yep.
it starts to get bad again, I'm sure they'll just scorched earth and then it'll be my problem.
Also, you have to think that this is a Rachni that survived those conflicts and has like seen the consequences of like Rachni trying to be too dominant in the galaxy.
Well,
right?
she says something to that extent, does she not?
Yeah.
I
That's
can't.
like that's what I was saying when she's like, I want to live in a cave.
She wants to sing. She wants to sing a song that will be like more peaceful among
Yeah.
her people. You know, and the Rachni are interesting because they are a culture of what is effectively oral history, and so the influence that she is now that she is the sole survivor, she gets to completely influence how the new generation of Rachni will act and behave. Right. So that's pretty interesting, just from like a cultural perspective of how much influence this one queen has now over as the sole survivor of her people. It's cool. I like it.
It really brings to light what were probably some very interesting questions in morality in video games at the time. It's like, for better or worse, you have been given the power of God in this situation. You get to decide who lives and who dies. You know how bad it can get, and you don't know if this thing is telling you the truth. You would only have to go on trust. Will you like pull the trigger, or will you like take it at its word and let it go?
Yeah.
Which seems, it's really cool. I really weighed it out, which I think speaks to, at least in the main story missions, like the quality of the writing. They really did a lot to give you reasons to pick either thing, which is things we've criticized games for in the past, right? If you know, like, oh yeah, this is part of a thing that was a existential threat to the galaxy, the kind of thing that you're chasing after and trying to prevent right now, you're really going to stop and like weigh, like, you know, do I want to potentially have 2 of these out here that I have to stop, or like, do I want to believe this like innocent, helpless thing that's been experimented on that it just wants freedom?
And I do think that's where the game's morality system falters a little bit, because like most decisions you make have a Paragon or Renegade context, and Paragon is like you do the good thing and the moral thing, and Renegade is you do the bad, unmoral thing. And so sometimes when you make choices and you get Renegade or Paragon points, you're like confused as to why that was the outcome of that decision.
Because like sometimes it feels like they give you Renegade points for like not following orders instead of doing the not moral thing.
Which it's very weird. It's like half of the time they're trying to be like, Paragon is following the rules and Renegade is being a loose cannon cop. And then the other half of the time they're like, no, Paragon is morally good and Renegade is morally evil. And it's like, well, these aren't...
It feels like they were trying to do like some alignment stuff where sometimes it's like lawful evil versus chaotic good.
Yeah.
But because it's not uniform, it can get really muddy really quickly.
It was so eye-opening to me when I was playing 2, and one of the tooltips was popped up is during a scene when the right trigger pops up, you can do a badass Renegade action. And I'm like, y'all didn't know what you were fucking doing.
Yeah.
Some of the Renegade actions in Mass Effect, we'll get to this later.
This is part of a thing I've heard some. This is not like my original thought. I've heard people say this before, but like, if a game, it's like very insulting when a game purports to believe that its little 2-dimensional scale knows the difference between good or evil, because either if someone with a contrasting moral system to you wrote it, and then you're going to come across this friction of like, I thought I was doing the good thing, but this game has told me I'm evil, or the choices are going to be like so black and white that they're going to be uninteresting.
Yeah.
Right. And I think this is more the former in this game, where it's like, I think someone who thinks a lot differently than me, someone who has different ideas than me, made this moral system, and it didn't like translate 1-to-1 to me.
But that doesn't necessarily make but I think the benefit is that doesn't necessarily make the choices feel less impactful. It might impact how you view their outcome, but in the moment, you still know what the dev considers to be the good or the bad thing, because good thing's always the top option, the bad thing's always the bottom option.
Yeah,
but they don't they don't like intrude so as far as this is like strictly, they don't like, I don't know, I guess it's obvious because of the text wheel, but like it's not obvious insofar as you're presented with a choice and you're like allowed to choose. So so that's the big thing there. You do get to rat out. The other funny thing about that planet is like the little espionage mission you do at the start to get
being
access.
The corporate cop.
yeah.
Or you just get to out a guy who's like too corrupt. It's like, hey, everyone does a little corruption, but that guy is
being
more
a huge
corrupt
fucker.
than we allow him. So we got to bring him in.
He's costing the board members too much money in corruption money.
Yeah,
that's like literally what is told.
Very
to you.
funny.
Honestly,
Very
good depiction. Good depiction.
Yeah.
We will only hold people accountable when they hurt the bottom line.
Yeah.
And only because they hurt the bottom line. That is the sin that they are guilty of. It is not that he runs a racket. It is not that he is doing a very small amount of organized crime. It's that he's costing us fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs to go to jail for that.
And like, it's very interesting playing this, how typically, like, it's funny because you are a CIA agent running around causing havoc wherever you go, but like this game is very like anti-corporation a lot of the time, even though like and like it's anti-corporation in the way that maybe you kind of should be, where like you're really mad at the corporation, but like you don't want to cause individual harms to the people who are working for the corporation.
Yeah, like exactly what happens on Zeus Hope, right?
Yeah,
where it's like the colonists and the scientists are like just work. They're doing the scientists, especially like specifically, are doing monstrous things. You end up killing that guy if you don't have enough Renegade or Paragon point. Well, probably just Paragon points.
Oh, I know he died. I don't know if I think I had to kill him. I think I didn't have enough Paragon points.
Yeah, you have to kill him if you're not a good enough boy. But the scientists that are stationed there are mostly just like, how at fault do you want to hold them for the task that they've been given by this company?
Especially when you're specifically a space colonist. Can you imagine how much more additional pressure you have as being someone on a space colony and a corporate employee?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have freedom.
You don't have a life.
Effectively. Like, you have to do well or you're, like, fucked out in space.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like...
There's a myriad. I mean, like, you being on another planet represents a huge financial risk, represents a huge safety risk. So there's like obligations. You would imagine that these people feel obligations to the corporations, to the governments, to like obligations to everyone except themselves to lead like a normal free life. Yeah. And it makes you feel real sympathy. I want to talk about the much worse part of this level.
The driving?
Yes.
Oh, God.
These motherfuckers put a town area in the second part of the level.
Yeah.
When there was already a town in the first part of the level where they could have put all the shops and the doctor, they could have put all that there and put it in put the Rachni outbreak in the same compound, but they didn't because they wanted you to get in that goddamn Mako and drive. What in the hell?
They thought
What's
they were
wrong
really
with
cooking.
them?
They thought they were really cooking
thought
with
they
the
were
Mako,
cooking.
and they were just wrong. The Mako sucks.
Every time I had to get into the Mako was against my will.
Yeah. I literally so doing the find that one dude's team mission, I got out of the Mako to fight the Thresher Maw on foot. Because
that sounds more fun, honestly. That sounds way more fun to me.
I just could not fucking stand fighting it in the Mako.
You know how long it took me to figure out you had a rocket launcher and a turbo button on the Mako?
You have a rocket launcher?
You have a rocket launcher.
Yeah,
I was halfway through the game before I figured this shit out.
I don't know if you guys played on controller, but if there's a right click and a left click weapon.
I played on controller. I bet you did too.
I mean, I played my Xbox 360 version of this game on my Xbox One.
Yeah,
so
that thing, I was halfway through the game before I had already killed 2 Thresher Maws with just the damn machine gun before I figured this out, and I just like did this to the, you do that sometimes, and it fired a rocket and jumped, and I was like, what? You can like jump over the Thresher Maw bullets. You know how they home in on you? You can jump over it. The rocket launcher cuts the time to beat that thing by like a good 60%. It takes maybe 2/5 as long. It is. I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry at all the time I had wasted.
I really, I don't really dislike Mass Effect 1, but they were not. They just did not know what they were doing with this planet exploration. Like, they give you so much freedom to do nothing actually fucking fun.
Yeah, 90% empty planets. I feel like I don't have to play Starfield now. I know.
So
Mass Effect 1 a better game than Starfield. I'd put money on it. I bet I will.
I'd bet money.
I bet.
So the last story mission before the final story mission is you find out that Saren has a compound right on the edge of Citadel space, which is basically like the... Okay. So essentially there are two halves to the galaxy. There is Citadel space, which is overseen and managed by the Council, and there are the Terminus systems, which are more independent, less connected groups, more out there, kind of like militarist, like random military and like
pirates.
More like kind of on their own type people.
There's no like dominant species hanging out there.
There's no like consensus or anything.
It's where most of the fresh colonization is happening.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. Mostly for worse. But you learn that Saren is building a compound kind of like right on the edge of the Terminus and the council systems.
Which was a purposeful choice.
Yeah.
To ward off the Citadel
From
fleet.
investigating. Yeah.
Otherwise, they would risk starting a bunch of wars.
And essentially what you learn is that he has built a Krogan cloning facility.
Nightmare.
To build a Krogan like a brainwashed Krogan army. And you get to have this really cool interaction with the best party member, Rex.
Yeah,
on the
this is
planet
where
of,
you
like,
can
the
make
ethics.
the worst possible decision.
And you might get forced into
of
it.
the game.
And you might get forced into it if
you don't have enough renegade points or Paragon
good
points.
boy points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which would be killing Rex.
Which is killing. Yeah, you have to kill Rex if you don't have enough good boy or bad boy points.
That's a nightmare. That's unconscionable.
I think you can also avoid it if you do Rex's like very complicated side quest that I couldn't figure out how to get to happen.
I didn't know Rex had a side quest. I thought only Garrus did.
Yeah, no, there's this entire side quest where you can get like his family armor, which I think I got the first time I played, but I was playing through one very fast this time, and so I didn't do it.
What?
Yeah.
How do you do this?
You're not going to really find it on your own most of the time.
Damn it.
I wouldn't worry about it.
I got Garrus's quest, and I was like, this must be the only one in the game, because I've spent a considerable amount of time with every one of these fucking party members, and he's the only one who ever said anything.
Yeah.
I eventually just stopped because I couldn't get like other conversation things to happen.
Yeah, me too.
Well, there's like a terminal point for all the characters where like they say all the things that they're going to say. Like there's a set amount of dialogue that each of them have, obviously. But so you get to have that cool scene with Rex where like you have to reckon with the fact that so the Krogan, we haven't talked about this at all. The Krogan are affected by what is known as the genophage, which is essentially a disease that caps their birth rates
at 1%.
Yeah, so they can only reproduce at 1% of the normal Krogan reproduction rate, which was significantly higher than like an average birth rate for any other civilization.
There's lots of Krogans in the game still.
We'll talk more about the philosophy of this in 2 because you get more information about this in 2.
Significantly more. Because one of your party members did it.
Yeah.
But in the first game, Rex is a sort of a Krogan loyalist. He's one of very few. Krogan are known to be very independent, and he fucking hates the genophage.
Yeah.
He hates
He
hates what it's done to his people. He's very proud of being a Krogan, which, while I'm not a person who condones taking pride in something that like that. In a world where like there's a genophage, you can imagine how someone might turn out that way.
Well, also it's like the important thing about Rex is the things that he is proud of being a Krogan about is not like being uber militaristic and like really good at killing things and stuff, right? That's definitely a part of it.
He's proud of their culture,
but he's proud of the culture. He's like proud of like how like the society is like managed to like continue to function. He's like he just wants to like fix it and rebuild and make Krogans like a more symbiotic society than this like we're basically just like rent-a-cops for anyone that wants to pay us money because we just like going out and killing shit.
Do you learn in the first game that he killed his father because his father was anti-Krogan?
No, that's in
or he
2.
believed his father to be anti-Krogan.
That was in 2. I think that was in 2.
I can't.
I don't even remember. I didn't get to learn that. That's sad.
Rex went to a big meeting with the leader of the Krogan.
No, it is in 2. It's in 2. Yeah, for sure.
We'll talk about it in 2 then. I'll give you the whole skinny.
So you blow up the Krogan facility. You leave behind one of your human members to die. You can either save Caden or Ashley.
You can either save Caden, a victim of government testing who's really nice and polite to you all the time, or you can leave Ashley, a Republican racist.
I like Ashley's character as far as I think she is well written and well made, because this is the kind of person you would expect to be in the military.
That's true. Yeah. And before anyone comes at me, I don't think Republicans deserve to die on account of being Republican. She's also racist.
She's a horrible person.
If there was an option to save both of them, I would. You do have to kill one of them.
She's
it's like a classic trolley problem.
Yeah,
all right?
she's like
I'm
very
going on value judgment.
She's like very demonstrably like not a good person. She voices her opinions all the time.
She is mega racist and like If she could say a slur, she could.
Yeah, she totally would.
She literally tells a joke about Asari promiscuity in relation to your
Liara.
Asari part, Liara. She literally tells a fucking she's a whore joke.
Yep.
Yeah.
She would say the Turian N-word. I'll say it. I think she would. She's not nice. She doesn't like Tali. She doesn't like Liara. She doesn't like Garrus. She only has criticisms when you bring aboard more aliens. And like the worst part is there's another person who's like this, who is not a party member, who is just a side character.
Yeah.
Who is like, oh, now that I've gotten to know these people, I realize the error of my ways. Not Ashley. Not Ashley. Ashley sucks the whole time. This was the easiest.
If we ever do Mass Effect 3, I'll get to see if she
gets better.
She's better.
Yeah.
If she becomes a normal person.
They already in Mass Effect 2, they already remedied one of the things I didn't like about the other party members, so maybe there's redemption arcs for all of them.
And then after you destroy the Krogan facility, you essentially get to do the last mission of the game, which is you go to this old Prothean facility that has a Mass Effect that shoots directly to the Citadel, like directly into the Citadel itself, and you have to like chase down Saren, and there's like big epic chase sequence, and then actually stop chase sequence, you got to talk to this old Prothean AI. And now back to the epic big epic chase sequence.
The Prothean AI thing
very
is a
cool.
Very
so
cool reveal.
One of the highlights of the game, honestly.
Also, I got to hand props to them on this level. The art direction was amazing. Definitely a lot of very evident influence by the works of H.R. Geiger.
Yeah.
It evoked the same feelings in me that I got watching the Alien films. This is a super deep cut. I don't think anyone's going to get this. The game Darkseid, which was illustrated by H.R. Geiger. Like, they do a really good job representing old and not human. And it evokes, it's like so evocative. It creates these feelings in you that like you feel like what the Protheans were.
Yeah.
And then you get the chance to like meet not the last Prothean, but like, their little AI guy.
Yeah.
Who's like, oh yeah, I had to kill them all.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to keep myself. Well, he didn't kill all of them, remember?
Oh, there's
a few of them were left alive, but like it was so few of them left that they were just like, we can't rebuild our society. We're just going to live our best lives for whatever time we have left, and that'll be it.
And, the reveal that nothing that is attributed to the Protheans by society was created by the Protheans.
Yeah. That's also really
crazy.
Yeah, these warnings have existed for forever. Protheans merely adopted the Mass Effects and the Citadel, and they don't know what the Keepers are,
Mm-hmm. Which, it's like, I agree with you that this game is not scary, but like in hindsight,
it's eerie.
Thinking about existence being, you advance to a certain point, and then a sentient robot race that you cannot comprehend or reason with comes to harvest you.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's pretty terrifying.
That's so cool.
Like,
and you don't know why. You don't even understand why.
yeah.
I think it shows a little bit of influence in some of the contemporary sci-fi works of the time, like The Matrix. Mm-hmm. This is a lot like this, or gives me like shades of that, like Logan's Run, like all these like classic sci-fi films that are like this. There's like a big reveal like this, or like Soylent Green. Even I can see parallels. Blade Runner for sure.
Which was one of the big influences that was mentioned by the people that made the game.
I do love this idea that it's like, I think the best decision they made was to take the world building, stick it all in a menu that you can just forget about and never touch. Mm-hmm. That's what I did. I would not. If the codex has no haters, I've died.
No reason to read through all that.
But like, they were like, yeah, instead of just the Protheans did all this and that's just the way it is, it's actually much more interesting than that, because existence is just like this endless cycle. There's things that you can't even discover because they're so ancient, and the Protheans discovered it and there's stuff older than that. It reminds me a lot of the Forgotten Realms in D&D, which is another setting like that, where it's like, oh yeah, civilization as we know it is very young, and things go back so far that you can't even our most detailed timeline covers like a very small piece of the pie. There's things that we'll just never know.
And then with that, you shoot back to the Citadel. You kill the shit out of... Well, first you make Saren kill himself. Yeah. And then you fight Sovereign inhabiting Saren's body and manage to weaken him just enough for the Alliance to get a clear shot at and kill a Reaper, which is cool sequence. It's when you like go out on the elevator and like Sovereign's just like up there on the Citadel. It's a cool sequence. It's a fun like little like ending big.
Yeah.
We all killed the council, right?
Nope.
I did kill the council this time because I let them live last time.
You saved them?
Yes.
And they actually dealt with the Reaper?
Yeah.
Like, well?
Yes, they killed it.
That is not how they presented it to me. And also, I hated the council. I was like, you guys are assholes. You sure can die.
The trade-off is that like you sacrifice a bunch of people, like humans.
Oh,
like a large part of the human fleet dies to save the council, but the council is on the Asari flagship, which is the most powerful ship in the entire galaxy.
Yeah, so, I let them die. I hated the council. They suck so bad.
I mean, they do suck. I agree. I am pretty sure I saved them last time. It's been so long that it's hard to remember, but I'm pretty sure I saved them the first time, even though I didn't want to. Like, I did not want to save them, but I'm like, it's the correct thing to do.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like sometimes I pick the bad option just because I'm obstinate, just out of spite, where it's like, I know you want me to feel like saving the council is a good thing to do, but they have done nothing but get in my way, who I am objectively the good one because I'm trying to stop the Reapers.
I'm the CIA man with all the power.
I'm the police. Okay, since we're wrapping up, I'll say it because I was thinking about this a lot. This game reminds me a lot of sort of societal ideas in America during the Iraq War. This feels like a lot of this was inspired by 2005, 2007 politics. You know, you were like...
There are the terrorists attacking us.
Yes.
And we have to go after them.
There's a good and just, strong military force that's trying to save all the people from the, uncivilized, animalistic bad guys that there's an unknown number of. And they're going to be here any day now to see they already attacked us. It's like I don't want to say because I'm not like confident enough to say that this is for sure. The parallels are definitely there, and they definitely make me uncomfortable in a way that all the those events kind of left the stains on all of the media that came out in that time. I don't think it's bad media. I think that I see the support for the Iraq War there, and it makes me roll my eyes in a way that is I'm a little jaded about it.
Mm-hmm. We've dealt with it for so long. We're coming on 20 years of dealing with the ramifications.
I don't know. I don't really necessarily feel the same way, but I also was a different age than y'all when all that was happening. So my perspective is different, obviously. But I don't know. I felt the enemy presence was so much more existential than a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
It's so much more ethereal because...
Well, I think that's why they're robots.
You think that has to be... You think they made them robots for that reason?
I think they made them robots to make them seem less like real things. Yes.
I can see that. They did work to kind of unwind that in Mass Effect 2.
They did. They did do some work to
because the other thing I was going to say is I think that as the series goes on, that actually goes away.
Yes.
Even like if that's your perspective, I think it becomes less valid as the
game. And it definitely becomes less
on.
Valid in 3 at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, spoilers for Mass Effect 3. I'm not going to say anything, but it definitely becomes less valid at the end of 3.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm glad to hear that they walked back on these attitudes that I certainly can see.
I can see why you would see them. I just don't necessarily agree 100%.
We're products of different times. I think it's just a necessary part of being born earlier than you. I think when we were at like comparable ages, the big things for a while was like ISIS, right?
ISIS, and on the fallout of the Great Recession.
Yeah,
housing crisis.
With us, even just a few years. I'm not like 10 years older than you or anything, but even like that small bit of time, it was like I'm blanking on the names. Hezbollah and
the Taliban.
Yeah, the Taliban. Thank you. Sorry, my brain juice wasn't flowing. Yeah, the Taliban,
Al Qaeda,
Hezbollah, all these things.
Well, I think that'll bring us to a close on Mass Effect 1. And that means we're done with our minisodes, and we are going to be releasing the first episode of Season 2 soon. All right, so look forward to that, and we will catch you all.
It will be Mass Effect 2.
It will be Mass Effect 2. If we haven't made that clear,
it's Mass Effect 2. All right, bye.